In times of turbulence and tension, family is the only place Prince Harry can find comfort and protection. Despite the disagreements and chaos surrounding him, family remains a solid pillar of support. One ordinary day, Harry unexpectedly receives a special gift from his late grandfather, Prince Philip, meant for his grandson, Archie. This gift is not just an ordinary item, but a keepsake filled with deep emotional significance. When the item was revealed, a powerful wave of emotions overcame Prince Harry, making it impossible for him to hide his feelings. He broke down in tears, unable to stop crying, feeling the love and presence of his late grandfather. The gift was not just a keepsake, but a symbol of family love and the connection between generations. It was a meaningful message from Prince Philip to both Harry and Archie, a reminder that family bonds and legacies will always endure. If you found this story interesting, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Don't forget to like and share the video with your friends and those around you so they can learn about it too. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on other exciting videos. Now let's dive into the story. After Prince Philip's passing, several months passed before some of his personal belongings were sorted and prepared to be shared with family members. Most of these items had been carefully stored in special places he had designated to keep them safe. He made sure everything was organized with each item set aside for a loved one. Many of the possessions held deep significance, even if they appeared simple or worn. These items, which might seem unimportant at first glance, were witnesses to the life each person had lived, reminding the family of key moments, the choices they had made, and the people they loved most. Among these items, a special package was set aside specifically for Prince Harry. This gift was not sent to him by chance. It had been carefully packed, securely wrapped, and labeled with his name. When the package finally reached Harry, he had no idea that such a meaningful item would arrive at this particular moment. It came at a time when he was grappling with a wave of personal thoughts and emotions he had never faced before. There had been a growing distance between him and the other members of the royal family. His life was no longer the same, and the numerous changes left him feeling isolated within his own family. Things were not as easy as he had once thought. But when the package was handed to him, everything around seemed to blur, and time felt as if it paused for a brief moment. The box wasn't large, but it was surprisingly heavy enough to make him feel the significance of it. Harry took the box in his hands, placed it carefully on his lap, and let out a quiet sigh before opening it. He slowly lifted the lid, his fingers gently peeling back the outer wrapping, and began to take out each item inside. The first was an old photograph carefully placed in a simple frame, unadorned and modest. The photo captured a precious moment, Prince Philip and a young Harry sharing a light-hearted laugh during a cozy family gathering. This photo was not new, nor was it chosen for its modernity or aesthetic value. It was selected for what it represented: the deep bond between grandfather and grandson, 2 men from the royal family. The simple gestures in the photo conveyed a genuine and intimate affection. Harry stared at it, holding the picture gently, as if he wanted to hold on to every precious moment his grandfather had shared with him. Memories flooded back, and he could clearly feel the love Prince Philip had for him, even though he was no longer there. Next, he reached for a small wooden box inside the package. The box had a smooth, polished surface, meticulously crafted and opened with a soft click, as if signaling that he was unlocking a part of the family's past. Inside the box, he found several small items, each bearing Prince Philip's personal mark. The first was an old pair of cufflinks, slightly worn but carefully polished, and a pocket knife that Philip often carried on long walks around the estate. These items were not just possessions, they were tied to Philip's years and the stories they held. These small pieces of the past were not just simple material possessions. They were intertwined with the memories, experiences, and personality of Prince Philip. They spoke not only of what he had done, but also of what he had cherished, and the marks he left on those he loved, including Harry. Each item was not just a possession, but a part of a larger story, a reminder of what had passed and what still lived on in the hearts of the royal family. The items inside the box were not of monetary value, but they held profound significance. These belongings had been kept with love and care, each one filled with memories. At the bottom of the package was a handwritten note, short, but with clear, precise handwriting. The note explained that the items in the box had been personally chosen by Prince Philip, and some of them were meant for Archie. When he reached the part about Archie, Harry paused. He hadn't expected his son to be the recipient of anything yet, as Archie was still too young to understand anything at this moment. But Prince Philip had thought ahead. He had considered Archie and made plans to pass on something special. Slowly, Harry began to understand the deeper meaning behind each item in the box. Every small possession had been chosen for a reason. Some were meant for Harry, while others were clearly intended for his son to be passed on when the time was right. This showed that Prince Philip had carefully considered Archie's future, even though they no longer lived near each other. Harry sat quietly beside the box, slowly going through each item. He didn't rush, but held them in his hands, studying each piece and absorbing the emotions that these items evoked. The box was filled with memories, lessons, and reminders of family. Receiving it made Harry pause, deeply reflecting on what had passed and what lay ahead. He carefully placed each item back into the box, not wanting to overlook anything or forget where they came from. To him, this box was not just a container of memories, but something he needed to protect. He envisioned a day when Archie would be old enough to understand and the box would be passed down to him. That moment would be a significant milestone in the boy's life. But for now, Harry chose to keep the box safe, ensuring that its value and meaning remained intact. The day passed, and Harry remained alone with the box. He didn't call anyone, nor did he share his feelings or thoughts with anyone else. He needed time to reflect to understand the significance of these items, not only for him, but for the future of his family. He didn't speak about it. He simply sat in silence, letting his emotions settle, thinking about the final years of Prince Philip's life, and how he had always kept Archie in his thoughts, even from afar. That meant more than any words could express. The small package had arrived at just the right time when Harry needed something to hold on to. It came from nowhere, yet landed with purpose. It was a reminder that even when people are distant, some connections endure. They might be buried under years of time and words, but they will always wait for the right moment to rise again. As Harry opened the box and carefully examined each item, each piece inside seemed to carry a memory. But there was something more. When he lifted a small book from the bottom of the box, an envelope slipped out from underneath. It had been placed deliberately but without drawing attention. Hidden just slightly and stored carefully, the envelope felt like a secret waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Harry picked up the envelope and immediately recognized the handwriting on the front. It looked familiar. The envelope was simply addressed with one name, Archie. Harry held it for a moment without opening it, studying the handwriting. then turned the envelope over in his hands. The paper was thick and sturdy, like the kind used for sending important messages. There was no stamp, no date, no indication of when it had been written, but it was clear that it had been written before Prince Philip passed away. He had taken the time to write something for Archie, even though they hadn't spent much time together after Harry and Meghan moved away. Just 2 months after the issue came to light, Prince Harry released his candid memoir where he openly admitted to past mistakes, including his use of cannabis, alcohol, and hallucinogenic substances, such as ketamine Special K and ayahuasca. He also detailed his ongoing struggle with mental health challenges and the profound loneliness he experienced following the death of his mother, Princess Diana. The memoir not only captured widespread attention, but also sparked significant controversy among the public, drawing both empathy from many and strong criticism from others. It wasn't filled with grand words or long stories. It was honest, and that made it feel even more personal. Harry read it once, then read it again. Each word seemed to evoke emotions he hadn't addressed in some time. He could see that Prince Philip had deeply thought about Archie. He had written the letter with the future in mind. He wanted Archie to grow up knowing where he came from, who was part of his family, and how to be strong in his own way. The letter didn't give commands or instructions. It simply shared thoughts and feelings, words a grandfather wanted to pass on. There was something deeply moving about the way the letter was crafted and written. Prince Philip didn't try to speak as royalty. He didn't aim to sound overly formal. Instead, he wrote the letter as a grandfather who had lived through many years wanting to say something that would stay with the child long after he was gone. The letter spoke of family, of moving forward with courage, and of facing life's difficult moments without turning away. It came from someone who had witnessed so much in life, someone who didn't often speak about emotions but had seized the moment to write down the things that truly mattered. As Harry read the letter for the third time, he paused at certain lines. There were parts where Prince Philip mentioned things about Archie's parents, though he never mentioned their names. He wrote about strength and kindness, and how both should always go hand in hand. He didn't ignore the fact that life would bring challenges. He didn't pretend that things would always be easy, but he made it clear that Archie should face everything with honesty. Reading those words shifted something inside Harry. He leaned back, holding the letter with both hands, not wanting to let it go. Harry folded the letter and placed it back into the envelope. He didn't set it down. He simply held it, looking around the room as his thoughts shifted from the past to the present. He thought about Archie and how he was still too young to read or understand anything in it. But that day would come when he was ready. Harry knew he would keep the letter safe until then. He would make sure it was protected away from harm or loss. It wasn't just a letter. It was a piece of family history written by Prince Philip himself. The more Harry thought about it, the more he realized how rare something like this truly was. These were words that couldn't be copied or repeated. They came from one person at one specific moment in time, and they were meant for a child, making them more special than anything else in the box. Though Archie couldn't understand it yet, this letter had already become part of his story. It would shape the way he would one day view his great-grandfather. It would be meaningful. He felt a deep connection to someone he had never truly understood. After sitting quietly for a while, Harry finally stood up. He wrapped the letter in soft cloth and placed it in the drawer at the back where it would be protected. He knew that one day he would take it out again, perhaps read it once more before handing it over to Archie. But for now, it needed to be kept safe. He closed the drawer and stood beside it for a few more moments, lost in thought. The letter had done something that spoken words often couldn't. It touched Harry's heart and gave him something valuable to hold on to. It didn't change the past, but it brought new meaning to the future. The wise words. After reading the letter several times, Prince Harry began to reflect more deeply on each line. He didn't rush through it. He took his time. Each sentence seemed to carry a powerful message, even though it was written in a very simple way. Prince Philip didn't use grand or poetic words. He wrote the way people do when they truly want to say something important. The letter didn't feel like something written hastily. It felt like something he had carefully planned, something that came straight from the heart. The message inside wasn't about rules or duties. It wasn't about behavior in public or following royal traditions. It wasn't about reputation or status. It was about life. It was about holding on to strength when everything seems to fall apart. It was about treating others with respect. It was about keeping your head high when people speak ill of you. It was about not giving up even when things get tough. Prince Philip had lived through the pressures of war struggles and losses within his family. He had seen life from many angles and condensed all of that into a few short paragraphs. There was one part Harry read over and over again. It spoke of making mistakes and getting back up. That part deeply resonated with him. He thought about how his own life had taken a new direction. He had given up his royal duties, his royal family. Yes, that was my family. It was my larger family. Well, I left the institution because at the end of the day I had to. I didn't leave it in 2020. He had moved across the world with Meghan and started a new life. He had faced criticism and confusion even from those he cared about. But reading those lines made him feel seen in a way he hadn't felt in a long time. It was as if Prince Philip understood more than Harry had ever expressed. Another line spoke about kindness. Prince Philip wrote that being kind didn't mean being weak. He explained that true strength often comes from how you treat others when you're tired, angry, or hurt. That resonated deeply with Harry. It reminded him of how he tried to raise Archie. He and Meghan always wanted to raise their son in an environment of love and honesty. Seeing those words in the letter gave Harry a stronger reason to continue with that vision. There was also a part where Prince Philip wrote about being honest with oneself. He wrote that no matter what happens, one should never lie to themselves. Harry had thought about that for a long time. The message felt personal. It reminded him of the times he tried to fit into a life that didn't feel right. He had spent many years trying to live up to expectations that pulled him in different directions. But in the end, he chose to walk away. It wasn't an easy thing to do. But seeing those words made him feel more certain about his choice. The wisdom in the letter came from someone who had endured tough times and kept going no matter what. Prince Philip wasn't always open with his emotions, but this letter revealed a different side of him, a softer, more thoughtful side. It showed that he had observed from behind, taking in everything and thinking about the future. Harry held on to that idea, which made him reflect on his own role as a father. It made him wonder how one day he might write letters like this for Archie. It made Harry think about the kind of example he wanted to set for his son in the future. As the day passed, he continued to sit there, the letter in his hands, reading it for the third time. Each time he read it, the words seemed to become sharper. The sentences carried a deeper meaning as he revisited them. This letter was not just a gift from a grandfather to Archie. It was a precious treasure that Harry would keep for the rest of his life. He realized that the letter wasn't something Archie would read once and forget. It was a living document, a part of the family story that Archie could come back to as he grew up. Each word in the letter was a reminder that family values are never forgotten. These lessons would help Archie find his way when life becomes difficult, when he faces challenges. Prince Philip's letter didn't just teach how to live. It was also a lesson in courage and perseverance when confronted with adversity. Harry realized that although Archie was too young to understand, this letter would help him feel the presence and love his grandfather had for him. After reading the letter one last time, Harry sat still, sighed, and placed the letter back into the envelope. He thought about the future and how this letter would become an important part of the family story. Though Archie couldn't understand it now, Harry knew that one day, when his son was old enough, this letter would unlock a part of the past, helping him connect with his grandfather, whom he had never met. Harry decided that at the right moment he would give this letter to Archie. But not now, while the boy was too young to fully grasp its profound meaning. He wanted to wait until Archie was older, mature enough to understand what Prince Philip had written. Until then, Harry would keep the letter safe, protecting it like a family treasure. He would ensure that the letter wasn't lost or damaged, because it wasn't just a simple letter, it was a part of the family legacy that Harry wanted to pass on to his son. As the day passed, and Harry sat there looking at the box and the items that Prince Philip had left behind, he felt a strong connection to the past. Each item, each word in the letter reminded him that family is the most important thing in life. No matter the difficulties or challenges, family remains the solid foundation we can rely on. Harry not only realized that Prince Philip had taken the time to write this letter with deep affection, but he also understood that these values would continue to live on even after he was gone. The words in the letter weren't rigid rules. They were life lessons teaching how to face difficulties without ever giving up. The letter changed Harry's perspective on family, on what he would leave behind for his son. Harry knew that the day would come when Archie would be old enough to read the letter and understand everything Prince Philip had written. And when that day arrived, Harry would pass on not just the letter, but also the story of the man who wrote it. A man who lived a life full of challenges and left behind words that could help Archie shape his own path in life. This gift carried with it generations of history and memories. As Prince Harry slowly examined the rest of the box, he found another item hidden inside a folded piece of cloth. It was small, contained in a soft leather pouch, worn but well cared for. He lifted the pouch and gently turned it in his hands. The exterior of the leather seemed aged, but it was clearly preserved with great care, without any tears or damage. When he opened it, Harry discovered a watch. It wasn't shiny or sparkling, but it held a classic beauty. The metal was slightly worn, the glass face had a few small marks, but the watch still worked perfectly. Harry sat down, gazing intently at the watch. He turned it over and saw a name engraved on the back. But the name wasn't Prince Philip's. It belonged to someone else, perhaps a family member from many years ago. It was in that moment that Harry realized this wasn't just Prince Philip's watch. It had been passed down from generation to generation, and now it had come to him. In fact, it wasn't really meant for Harry at all, it was meant for Archie. This realization made Harry pause. He didn't move for a moment, just sitting there staring at the watch, trying to imagine the hands that had held it before it came into his own. The watch had been passed down through many generations, perhaps tucked into a pocket during long walks placed on a bedside table at the end of the day, or wound each morning before heading out into the world. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to hit like, share the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more fascinating stories. Now let's continue the journey together. It had become a part of someone's life for many years, perhaps even decades, and through all those ups and downs, it still remained. He gently placed the watch on the table, staring at it intently. He remembered seeing it once before when he was a child. But back then, he didn't understand its significance. He didn't think it was anything special. But now, after everything that had happened, the watch was no longer just an object. It carried with it a deep meaning, a thread connecting the past, present, and future. Harry picked up the watch again and opened the back. Inside, he discovered a small, folded piece of paper nearly too small to notice. He carefully removed the paper and unfolded it. The paper was thin, the handwriting familiar, as if it came from Prince Philip himself. There were only a few lines, but what was written was enough for Harry to grasp the significance of the gift. The paper stated that this watch belonged to someone who taught Prince Philip the meaning of discipline and time. That person had given the watch to Prince Philip when he was young, and now he wished to pass it on to Archie. The note wasn't long, it didn't delve into stories or elaborate details, but it was enough for Harry to understand that this watch was a gift with a meaning far beyond anything that could be measured in money. This heirloom wasn't something chosen from a luxury store, nor was it a gift meant to impress. It carried a profound message about family values, inheritance, and tradition, about how objects not only hold material value, but also carry the emotions and memories of those who have passed. This was a gift not only given through its physical form, but also through life lessons. Harry carefully folded the paper again and placed it back inside the watch. Thoughts of the past, of what had occurred, and of Archie's future all touched his heart, deepening his understanding of family and what he hoped to pass down to the next generation. It had existed in the family for many generations, becoming a special item because of everything it had been through. This watch had survived wars, travels, moves, and changes within the family. And now it had come to another child in the family, though that child was still too young to wear it. Harry held the watch tightly, feeling the deep connection it created between the past and the future. Although he didn't fully understand its meaning right away, he knew just how important this watch was. Harry thought about how family traditions are passed down. They're not always written down or spoken aloud. Sometimes they're expressed through the things people leave behind for each other. A small item like this watch can carry more meaning than anything else. It can convey things that words can't express, holding stories that only time can tell. This watch had done just that. It had moved through generations in the family without ever being forgotten, and now it had come to Archie, creating a thread that connects the generations. Harry decided to keep the watch safe until Archie was old enough to fully understand its significance. He wouldn't let it be worn until the right time, when the boy was mature enough to appreciate its value. The watch would be protected as Prince Philip had hoped, and when the time came, it would become a special gift Archie would receive from his great-grandfather. After some thought, Harry found a box in a drawer and placed the watch inside. He carefully wrapped it in a soft velvet cloth, sealed the box, and stored it in a safe place away from harm. That evening, Harry sat alone, reflecting on the meaning of passing down what has been lost. He recalled moments from his childhood watching Prince Philip repair small objects and remembered the trips where he had taken this watch with him. Those images now appeared vividly in Harry's mind, memories that he never thought would carry such deep significance. Prince Philip had thought of Archie even before he could speak or walk. He had planned for the boy's future, choosing a special gift, not something flashy or expensive, but something truly valuable, something that would withstand the test of time. Harry looked at the box once more before putting it away. He felt grateful to have received something so meaningful. He knew that this moment would stay with him forever, and one day it would help Archie feel connected to those who came before him. After placing the heirloom back in the box, Harry sat in the room for a while, lost in his thoughts. The lights were dim, and the atmosphere in the room felt heavy. He hadn't expected the day to unfold like this. He had only planned to look through the belongings and put them away, but now everything felt different. The letter, the watch, and the memories seemed to merge together, stirring up emotions he had tried to suppress for months. He began to pace around the room, trying to calm himself, picking things up and putting them down, but unable to focus on anything. Finally, he sat down, rubbed his eyes, and tried to hold everything in, but the emotions began to overwhelm him. Harry had gone through so many changes in the past few years. He had left behind a familiar life, everything he had known since birth, and started over in a new country. He had tried to build a new path for his family, but in moments like these, all the emotions he had kept bottled up for so long began to spill over. The words in Prince Philip's letter still echoed in his mind, and the image of the old watch continued to haunt him. The sense of his presence, even though he had passed away, lingered with him. As he walked, memories began to flood back. He recalled the last time he saw Prince Philip, the fleeting moments they shared, and the rare conversations between them. He remembered his childhood moments running into rooms where Prince Philip sat reading or walking beside him at public events. Those memories surged forward, becoming sharper and more vivid than ever before. Suddenly, Harry stopped leaning against the wall, his hands covering his face. Tears began to fall slowly, then faster. He didn't try to stop them. He had held them in for too long, and now he let them flow freely. The tears came from the pain of missing someone, from guilt, and from a mix of memories that were both warm and painful. He slid down to the floor, sitting against the wall, his hands resting on his knees, his head lowered. He stayed there for a while, letting everything pour out. Harry didn't cry loudly, no sounds escaping him, but the tears kept flowing. His shoulders trembled with each breath, and his chest felt tight. The tears weren't just for Prince Philip, but for everything he had been carrying all these years. He thought about the growing distance between him and the royal family, the wrongs, the unspoken words, and the pain of leaving. He also thought about his mother and what she had gone through. It felt as though all of that was too much for one person to bear, and now it had all come crashing down on him. The room was silent as he sat there, no one coming in, no one seeing him. This breakdown wasn't meant for anyone else. He had kept everything inside for so long, and now he was releasing it in the only way he could. After a long while, the tears began to slow. His body felt exhausted, but there was a slight sense of relief. He wiped his face and leaned his head against the wall. Staring at the ceiling, he took deep breaths. He wasn't fine yet, but something had shifted. Something was moving within him. He realized that he could lean on the lessons from the past, learning to face what he had gone through and growing from those experiences. Harry definitely felt much lighter, but he also had to face things he had been avoiding for a long time. He had collapsed, but in that moment, he let go of part of the pain. He slowly stood up his legs, feeling weak. He walked over to the drawer where he had placed the letter, opened it, but didn't take it out. He placed his hand on the edge of the drawer and stood there for a moment silently. He now understood the meaning of that letter not only for Archie, but for himself as well. He walked over to the window and gazed out into the dark night. The world outside was still, and the house around him seemed just as silent. He stood there for a moment, taking in the fresh air, which made him feel a little steadier. Finally, he returned to the small table, picked up the velvet pouch, held it for a few minutes, then gently set it down. He sat back in the chair, leaned back, and closed his eyes. His face was still wet, his head a little sore, but he didn't try to wipe everything away. He just sat there resting, not rushing, feeling a little stronger. He allowed himself to breathe deeply, slowly. He couldn't stay still and process everything that had just happened. It wasn't a moment he had planned for, nor was it something he wanted anyone to see, but it had helped him move forward. The breakdown didn't mean he was weak. It was a sign that he was human. He had let go of a part of the weight he had been carrying for so long. He didn't need to explain it, didn't need to talk about it. He just needed to feel it. That night before going to bed, Harry placed a photo of Archie on the drawer. He wanted his son to one day see the photo of the two of them along with the words of his great-grandfather and the memories they shared. After that, he closed the drawer, turned off the lights, and walked away slowly, knowing that something had changed inside him. He was rebuilding the bridges that had broken. After a long, emotional night, Prince Harry woke up early the next morning, his mind still heavy. He hadn't slept much, and his thoughts kept circling around the letter, the watch, and everything they brought back from the past. He walked slowly through the house, not saying much. Megan noticed, and she realized that he was no longer the same. She didn't ask many questions, simply giving him the space to work through the emotions that had built up inside him. Later during the day, Harry stepped outside to the backyard to breathe in the fresh air. Sitting on the steps, he pulled out his phone and scrolled through old messages. His finger paused on one of the names, his brother William. He hadn't reached out in a long time. The distance between them had only grown wider over the years. They had once been very close, but so much had changed. In that moment, Harry felt the urge to send a message. Not long, just a few lines to say that he had read something from their grandfather, and it had deeply moved him. He wasn't expecting a quick reply. But not long after his phone lit up, it was William. He didn't send back any formal words or anything heavy, just enough to show that he understood. That made Harry pause. For the first time in a while, he didn't feel like they were on opposing sides. He felt like they were brothers again, even if only for a moment. The message wasn't meant to fix anything. It didn't dive into the past. It simply met Harry where he was offering support without judgment. That small message helped Harry feel a bit lighter. He replied, adding a short detail about the watch that Prince Philip had left for Archie. William responded, mentioning how he remembered that watch, one of their grandfather's most treasured possessions. He had seen it years ago. Memories were something they shared, and this time, it didn't feel like they were walking on different paths. It felt like they had taken a small step toward each other without even trying. The next day, a package arrived at Harry's house. It was a small, carefully wrapped parcel with no note, just a tag with Harry's name on it. When he opened it, he found a framed photo inside. It was an old picture of Prince Philip smiling gently while holding the shoulders of a young William and Harry. The photo had clearly been taken many years ago, perhaps during a family trip. Harry hadn't seen that photo in a long time. It might have been kept somewhere in Kensington Palace, and now it had been sent to him. That afternoon, Harry also received a brief message from Kate. She inquired about the well-being of their family. In the message, Kate mentioned that William had spoken about the letter and the family heirloom and wanted them to know that they were still in their thoughts. Although it was just a short conversation, it felt warm and sincere. Meghan politely replied, thanking Kate for the message. It wasn't anything too grand, but it carried significant weight. For Harry, everything seemed different for the first time in a long while. That evening, Harry sat down with Archie, the little boy, perched on his lap. He showed Archie the photo and smiled as the boy pointed at the people in it. Although Archie didn't understand who they were, his curiosity made Harry feel warm. He didn't explain too much, just offering a few brief explanations for the moment. Harry wanted Archie to grow up with stories of their family, not to pressure him to understand everything right away. He watched his son smile and touch the photo frame, and for the first time in days, Harry felt a sense of peace slowly filling him. Harry didn't need a piece of paper to explain the photo. He knew exactly where it came from. It was William's way of reaching out, and that meant more than any words could say. He didn't rush to respond right away. Instead, he took a few days to reflect before replying with a simple message of thanks. He didn't try to bring up old stories, just said what needed to be said with simple, clear words. That was enough. The support from William and Kate couldn't solve all the problems, couldn't erase the distance or the difficulties between them, but it had done something more practical. It showed that in moments of loss, family could still overcome the distance that had grown over time. It reminded Harry that beneath all the pain and differences, there was still love and care. As the days passed, Harry never forgot that moment of support. He kept the photo on his desk near the drawer containing Prince Philip's letter. Every time he passed by, he would glance at it and remember that even through all the changes and struggles, there were still small bridges that kept the family closer. The photo, the watch, and the messages all reminded him that family was still there in the smallest but most sincere ways. That night, Harry sat with Meghan and told her about the photo and the messages. She smiled as she listened, and he could see that she understood how much it meant to him. The brief exchange between the two brothers and Kate's gentle message had done more than they could have known. It wasn't a solution, but it was a sincere gesture. And for Harry, that mattered more than anything, because even though life had changed and their path was no longer the same, there were still small bridges that could be built. These bridges were the first steps toward inviting forgiveness and reintegration, and Harry believed that sometimes it only took a simple gesture to begin that process. Everything came together, helping Prince Harry realize what truly mattered, leading a new legacy for his family. In the weeks after receiving the letter and the watch from Prince Philip, a gradual change began to take shape within him. At first, he didn't recognize it clearly. The days continued as usual. His life in California seemed calm. He spent time with Meghan and the kids, helping around the house and focusing on personal projects. But deep down, thoughts of his grandfather and the events that had unfolded within the family were always present. His grandfather's gifts, though small in material value, held immense significance, prompting him to reflect on the past and the connections between generations. Nevertheless, Harry was in no rush to share these thoughts with the world. He kept them close, feeling that some emotions are better kept private in certain moments. Every time he passed the drawer where he kept the letter and the watch, He would pause for a moment, placing his hand on the surface of the drawer and standing there for a brief while. Sometimes he would take the watch out, simply holding it for a moment, feeling the details of the timepiece that Prince Philip had passed down. He didn't need to wind it or wear it. He simply held it, and in that moment he reflected on where it came from and where it would go next when it reached Archie's hands. The watch was not just a simple object. It carried with it a long history, untold stories and memories that still linger vividly. This watch had survived through many years, through wars, changes, and moves within the family. It had become a part of someone's daily life for decades. Through all the ups and downs, the watch remained, carrying with it the memories of those who came before. And now it had reached Harry, passed down from one generation to the next. Although Archie was still too young to fully understand what the watch represented, Harry knew that one day when his son grew older, it would hold special meaning for him. Harry wasn't in a rush to share everything all at once with his son. He wanted Archie to grow up with these stories rather than trying to convey everything at once. He kept the watch, the letter, and those memories close, knowing that they would carry even deeper significance in the future. He looked at his family and thought about how traditions worked within the royal family. These traditions weren't always spoken or written. Sometimes they were passed on through small objects that people left for one another. The watch, although simple, held more than words could express. It contained stories that only time could tell. These were stories not always mentioned, but they lived on in the hearts of those who understood and preserved them. Harry understands that no matter how life changes or how people make different choices, family always has an unbreakable bond. Family will always be family no matter how many years pass or how many conflicts arise, the ties that connect them still remain. He feels a deep connection to his grandfather and those who came before him, not just through heirlooms, but through the lessons they left behind. Reflecting on his relationship with his brother Harry, realizes that although the distance between them can't be erased overnight, they can at least take a small step toward each other. It's not a major change, but it's a new beginning. William's small gesture, the photo, and the message it carried helped Harry see that despite their differences, family can still find common ground and face challenges together. Every time Harry looks at the watch or the letter from Prince Philip, he's reminded of everything his family has been through, the struggles, the sacrifices, and the sweet moments that have shaped a family that, while not perfect, is filled with love. And he knows that even though his path may be different, he can still build a legacy for his family, one where values and love are preserved and passed on to future generations. Harry doesn't expect everything to go back to the way it was, but he now feels there's room to open up to talk and to build something new, even if it looks different from before. He's also started thinking more deeply about the kind of legacy he wants to leave for his children. Seeing the watch meant for Archie and reading the letter intended to guide him one day made Harry reflect on what truly matters. Not titles, palaces, or public appearances, but values. It's about how one lives, how one treats others, and how one stays true to what matters most. That shift made Harry slow down. He began to consider his actions more carefully. He thought about how he shows love to his children, how he supports Meghan, and how he navigates his role outside the royal family. He didn't want to hold on to anger. He didn't want to carry the weight of old pain forever. He knew that wouldn't help anyone, not himself, not his children, and not the family he left behind in the UK. So one evening, Harry sat down to talk with Archie. He spoke thoughtfully, knowing that even if the words didn't fully reach his son now, they would settle somewhere in his heart. Harry wanted to pass something down, too. something like what Prince Philip had passed on to him. After that conversation, Harry wrote something down. It wasn't a letter, it felt more like a journal entry. He wrote about the moment he divided his grandfather's gift and the unexpected kindness from William and Kate. He didn't plan to share it with anyone, at least, not yet. But putting it into words helped him understand his feelings more clearly. It helped him see things with a bit more clarity. He folded the pages and placed them in the same drawer where the watch and the letter rested. He set them there gently, as if they had found a home, a quiet place where memory, reflection, and legacy could quietly live together. Over time, Harry began to reach out a little more. Not in any grand way, just small messages, brief phone calls. He wasn't trying to force anything, but he wanted to show that he was willing to rebuild something. Not everything had to be fixed all at once, but bridges could still be rebuilt if people were willing to work on them, and he was ready to try. At home, Meghan noticed the difference. Harry no longer carried everything the same way. He was gentler, more open, more present. He laughed a little more. He spent more time simply being with the kids. That change didn't come from outside pressure. It came from a moment of reflection that shifted how he viewed life. Harry still looks ahead, but he carries his past carefully, not in a way that weighs him down, but in a way that helps him grow. He doesn't want to repeat old mistakes. He wants to embrace what he's learned and pass it on to the next generation. He wants Archie and Lilibet to grow up knowing they are part of something meaningful, even if their lives look different from those who came before them. And so Harry moves forward slowly, one step at a time. He's not rushing into big decisions. Instead, he focuses on small actions, listening more, judging less, reaching out rather than turning away. The letter from Prince Philip reminded him of who he is, and the support from William and Kate reminded him that change is still possible. In that space, Harry found something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. He now understands that a legacy isn't just what people leave behind when they're gone, it's also how they help others grow while they're still here. Do you think things will get better now that Prince Harry has come to these realizations? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more exciting content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next videos.